Support for this podcast comes from the patrons at patreon.com/FMLFPL. On.
This Walsh.
My throat's kind of feeling it a little bit there. I'm back.
Well, you got extra pods you're doing.
Yeah,
so.
back-to-back Jags.
Yeah.
Here we
How
go.
are you, brother?
I'm okay, dude. How are you? It's nice weather. We're flying as usual.
Flying somewhere.
Everywhere's a flight.
Yeah.
The nature of the
just
spectrum.
the way you look at it.
Everyone's on
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we're fucking not so good, would be my assessment thus far.
Yeah. I mean, we started well, and then we just had a couple of clunkers. I don't know. I still feel like our processes are pretty good, but we're just not doing the things, which I guess, as listeners know, is not too off-brand.
You were tasked with tracking our match day one team if we didn't wildcard. So how would we have done before we go into it?
Well, we would have been about the same. I think the biggest difference would have been who we actually got instead of,
which is hard,
like Insigne or whatever, which is hard to Monday morning quarterback it.
I feel like we probably would have gotten one or two of the same guys that we put in our wildcard team, which makes logical sense because obviously we picked them for a reason. It's just a matter of like, did we get Yarmo, Nabry, or did we get Kai? And for the forward, it's like, wouldn't we have just gone Bilotti, or would we have like gone premium or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a couple, but it would have been within a few points of each other.
Yeah, I don't really disagree with the evaluation of like, I think we should go for it because all we needed was, we got like no fucking returns. We just needed like one more return and we would have been pretty nicely positive. But that in hindsight, which is, hindsight is hindsight, I'm like,
is it 2020?
It's perfect vision. Yeah, it's better.
2010 or something.
Arguably better than 2020. Yeah, it's we didn't really take many swings at the matches that ended up being where all the points came from, because we were too, and I'm not even saying this is right or wrong, I'm just saying what happened is like we were too scared of the Netherlands lineup. We were too scared of backing, I don't know, Belgium. Didn't back Spain. Like there were a bunch of things where we're like, we don't know really who's starting. We don't know how many minutes. And then when you look back and see where all the points came from, it's like Memphis, Genie, Rom goal, Kev assist, Spain score 5, and Lua we never considered. Benzema, Ronaldo, we never considered these guys. But I don't know. I just feel like maybe we're just too passive or something, or maybe that just means we shouldn't have wildcarded. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't think we were too passive. I don't really agree with that. I think that we made good calls based on what we thought would happen. Yeah. And, that's just the nature of, such a small window with such extreme variance of just this one game. So, there are things that were just turned on its head, like Denmark scoring 4 when they, really weren't functioning, and Spain scoring 5 when they also weren't, able to finish, but let alone the 5, where the points came from. No one would have had Sarabia. No one would have had Varane, Laporte. Alba gets an assist. Okay, that's one. And Moreno got an assist. Okay, but, Morata got 0 points, missing the pen. So, and we did have Hazard. I feel like that was, we knew that we wanted a piece and we didn't want to go too much heavier than that. And again, they did get a really late second goal, but until that one went in, it was a Vermaelen assist and an own goal, which looked like, the game could have ended there.
Yeah. And Varane is definitely like a match day one type of guy that probably a lot of people actually did have.
well, I mean, he didn't start match day 2, so
wild card. Yeah, I mean, possibly, they might have used the transfer there. Yeah, they might have used the transfer there. I feel like majority of the transfers would have been, Italy, just because we knew 100% these guys aren't starting. Whoever, like Ciro, Insigne, Spinazzola, whoever people had, Berardi.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, the Portugal-France game, we expected it to be really tight, and instead there's just free pens the whole game.
Yeah, it was. And that's one of those that you just can't account for. Yeah.
So, when the few of these events happen, and then that's just the game. And, for us, we're right now on 8 straight captain roles, starting with match day 2 that we've blanked on. So that's hard. That's hard to do.
Crazy.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, Barrick wrote and he said, assuming the odds of your captain returning or blanking are roughly 50-50 just for the sake of bants, the chances of 8 blanks in a row are 0.39%. More of an observation, not a question. I'm just like... Yeah.
No, and that's, that happens to you under 1% of the time, and that's unfortunately our experience right now.
Yeah.
But, I've still been really enjoying the games. It's not
the
like this total...
Fun.
Yeah, it's not like this is a total unfamiliar thing of like being bad at fantasy.
It's sort of expected at this point.
Yeah, it's high XG for us.
Yeah, exactly. X rank.
And so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's still the thing. It comes back to me with this is like watching that Belgium game with Hazard, right? Like felled for a pen, not given. 2 to 3 big chances, just fluffing each one or shooting them directly at the keeper. And just that, not like that happens. Like you watch a game and you're like, oh yeah, he's getting into danger. Meanwhile, Kev, yes, he created a few chances, but as you saw, creating chances is relying on the teammate to finish them or whatever. And, he did get one at the end and there was an offsides one that was ruled off, but, Hazard just didn't. I don't think Kevin had like a shot attempt.
Yeah.
Hazard was shooting and he just didn't do the things.
There's
he could have finished on a brace.
There were very few of our picks that were like, wow, that in hindsight, that was a bad fucking pick. Like if you look back,
Bellotti was the one that, when it was happening, I was like, I know, but I think if we spent a little bit more time on, actually, not only has he not had a competitive game in over a month, but this team hasn't played together maybe ever.
Yeah.
That we might have landed on that means more than just seeing the team sheet.
But if he scored one of them, we wouldn't even be saying that. We would be like, he could have scored a brace. He got a lot of chances.
Yeah, that's true, and that's to a degree that's results based thinking, but at the same time, it wasn't like a constant like the Italy-Wales game, right? I mean, Wales were just a
dead rubber sort of.
Yeah, and Wales weren't bending over; they were just compact and doing nothing, and Italy were just happy to keep the ball and not really flood too many forward and not create too. So I don't know.
And then Arnie also 2 massive chances.
He was just awful.
Can't account for that.
Yeah. I mean, Mbolo playing a different position.
Mbolo, different position. Yarmo they just got dominated, so that happens. And then, Gnabry, I guess, hindsight is like, we were more just picking the player than picking his actual position and role on the team, which is not good for fantasy. Robbo's a punt, whatever, but happens. Fucking happens.
Still love Serge. It's hard for me to...
It's hard, but Serge. Objectively on this Germany team,
Kai's better. Kai's a better asset. He's a decoy and a very wide winger.
Yeah, his role is to, create space, take defenders away from Kai, Mueller, the wing backs.
Yeah, well, not Mueller this game, but generally, yeah.
And that's how it will work. Okay.
Yeah,
that's enough on our team. That. Sitting
too much on our team.
Yeah, sitting at the top of the FMLFL league is Cam Anderson, aka Mbappe FC. Casual 93 points for him this week, so that's a pretty good job.
Yeah, good job by you, Cam. Cam pops in Discord here and there.
Yeah, he's a cheeky around for a while.
Cheeky contributor.
Yeah, Mbappe.
Very happy to see him doing well. Yep.
And now we're on to the round of 16. Everyone's on their mandatory wild cards, the knockouts.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Not chosen.
Yeah, no, you can't choose. This is like, is this where the fun of fantasy ends or it ends next round?
next round, it's going to be pretty not fun. Yeah. I think the only amount of fun really that you're going to have is, maybe in 2 or 3 of your players. Yeah. And if you want to go against the grain with captaincy. But, once we get to 8 teams, there are not a lot of teams that look very different from one another.
Especially with just how the fixtures will fall. Inevitably, there's going to be some 50-50, don't want a piece of that game. And then there's going to be some that everyone lumps on. Yeah, so this is fantasy. This is peak right here. Everyone's on wildcard. A lot of interesting matchups. Okay. Should we? I feel like we should just start how we started every other pod and just talk about captains before we get into questions. Why don't we,
before we talk about captains, just talk about whether or not you have another chip or another wild card? Because I think, fundamentally, looking at which teams you should pick players from and, amount of risk you can take in your team right now is 1,000,000% correlated with whether or not you have chips left.
Right. So we obviously don't have a chip left.
Yeah, so we don't. And just to make everyone aware, because I know it's very hard. I know if the Discord's a sample size of larger people, it's very hard to go to the rules page and read them.
Yes.
But on the website, there is a rules page, and it does have the rules. Absent from there are the price changes. I will give you that. That was a complete rogue thing. But we only have 3 transfers after this round of 16. So we go from 16 teams to 8. You only have 3 transfers.
Yep.
Then you have 5. So you get a little bit more leeway to go from the 8 to the 4 teams. So
let me interrupt you also, because it's not just that you have 5 transfers, it's also you have less substitution opportunities. So leaving guys on the bench is actually okay there.
Right.
So it's less moves that you have to make also, which is why it's kind of fun. Once it goes from 8 to 4, you're kind of just fine. You can make 5 moves to get a starting 11.
Yeah, having 14 or maybe even 13 players, you're not going to be totally fucked.
Yeah.
So
barely makes a difference.
Yeah, barely. It's always nice to be able to have the extra guy or two, but
yeah.
So that said, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's why the biggest risk that we and everyone else who used all their chips in the group stage took is between this round wildcard and next round, where you only get 3, but there's still 8 teams alive. So you do still want a squad of 15, and you do still want a captain on every day. So that's where, an upset happens, whatever, injury, upset. All of a sudden you have a 12-man squad, less potentially.
Yeah,
and you have to use all your frees on guys that are eliminated from the tournament, and you are at a disadvantage at those teams that have a 15-man squad.
But the one thing, though, also about the quarterfinals that's a little bit not intuitive is that you still only get 2 captains there. You don't get 4 because there's 2 games on one day and 2 games on the other day. So you're not going to be that bent over if you don't have someone in a bracket, you know?
Yeah, that's true. So that said, it obviously makes a big difference on how you build your team this round, because you're either just picking individual matches and players for one match this round,
and then wildcarding next week.
Right. Or you're leaning a lot heavier on the teams that you think will advance into the quarterfinals.
Right.
Which is us.
Yeah, which is us. So why don't we start with that, where we're at, and it seems like probably people that are actually listening to this are probably more like this, but Netherlands are, the obvious, very loud, screaming team looking at the 4 quadrants where they play Czech Republic first, and then they play either Wales or Denmark into the semifinals.
I actually haven't looked beyond this round. How much?
Well, I'm glad that we're both doing it together and I'm here.
Yeah, no, I know, but
yeah.
How much do you put in that? Does that make you want Netherlands?
I think that's huge.
Even more? Yeah,
there's
the actual
no iteration of our team where we don't have 4 Netherlands players.
Yeah.
Because there's no other quadrant that has 2, you're not going to have another team that has 2 games where they're going to be insane, incredible, massive favorites.
Right.
Unless if there's a big upset, which could happen, but that's not something that we're going to be, planning for or expecting.
Right.
So that I think is the most important thing to do when you're building your team, even if it is just for one game. You know, that game against Czech Republic, with the way that the Netherlands have just been blowing teams away so far, is a really, really lopsided game.
Yeah, it's the combo. It has to be the combo. Otherwise, we wouldn't lump on them because aforementioned.
But even if you still have your chips, this is still a game that you want Netherlands play. Maybe not 4, but, you know.
Probably 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just from this round, Netherlands. I pulled the gambling numbers just because that's like the only place you can get stuff. Sure. So in terms of advancing, and Netherlands are up there near the top of the -335, basically 77% likely to advance. You know, Italy's up there, Spain's up there, France is up there, and that's basically it. Those are the only heavy favorites.
Yeah. Sure.
Which is that's in line and what I agree with for sure. Mm-hmm. How do those teams look going further in the tournament? Because I haven't looked at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about all of those games is that the second game is very much in question because Italy are going to advance and play either Belgium or Portugal in the quarters.
Gotcha.
Neither of those teams are going to be a pushover and a game similar to Netherlands versus Wales or Netherlands versus Denmark, for example, right? To get to the quarters.
Right.
Spain and France are on a collision course to play next round after they both win. Right. That's going to be a really difficult game to call.
Right.
And then on the other bracket, which is more interesting, is that, you know, England and Germany are basically going to walk into the quarterfinals, but that game is really hard to call.
Their game is a 50-50, and then but then they get to play Sweden or Ukraine. Yeah.
So,
which also is interesting because those are drastically different fixtures.
Yeah, they are.
Like
they're very different.
If either team's playing Sweden, I'm like triple defense. Let's go. It's a 1-0 win. If either team's playing Ukraine, I'm like triple 3 attackers. They're going to score 4 or 5.
Except for England, which they're just not
maybe England's
score 4 or 5.
Excluded from that. But interesting. Very, very fucking interesting. The tournament's so good.
It does get fun when you look at these kind of like like these probabilities and looking at the next round and stuff when you're trying to build your team. So
let's do caps and then we'll go back to sort of like the questions of team building and stuff like that. So day 1 is Wales, Denmark, and Italy, Austria.
Yeah, so we're going to have the Wales-Denmark team. We're not going to have the Italy-Austria team. I don't think that's going to be too big of a deal because it's pretty...
team sheet,
Yeah, the team sheet. I mean, we probably should be pretty confident about who Italy's going to play. Maybe the only one I'm thinking about is like Verratti might come in for Locatelli. Maybe it might not happen.
Verratti also is still not like 100% nailed, I wouldn't say.
For Verratti, you think?
No, Berardi could be Chiesa, could be...
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't think so either, and I think he made that clear with the B team he played in match day 3, but it's not impossible, you know?
Oh, that's fair.
It's not Chiro, it's not Insigne, it's not lock.
So...
I mean, though...
Yeah,
aforementioned Chiro and Insigne are the obvious captains to me.
Yeah, I think Spinazzola also is worthy of consideration.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I actually want to look, I'm a little like undercooked and underprepared for this episode, but I want to look back and I wonder if there's more or less clean sheets when it gets to the knockouts. I feel like there's less because the other team just has no choice but all out attack, right? Like Italy should be winning and in control in this game. And at some point, Austria are just going to have to say, we're sending everyone forward because we need goals or we're knocked out of the tournament. There's literally nothing to lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, though, you know, we have 3 games in their legs in like a 10-day period coming into this one. You know, not Italy. I mean, they got to rest everyone. But, you know, it still comes to a point where it's like they get hit on the counter when they're trying to do that and it's 2-0. And then they're like, okay. Like, do we want to embarrass ourselves and keep doing this? Or are we going to just, you know, because that does, you know, they do get their wills broken at some point where it's like, this game's over. We are just going to lick our wounds and just accept defeat, on 75th minute when it's 3-0 and not keep 8 men forward, so it's 4, that kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. Teams aren't going to go down 1-0 and keep playing the same way they've been playing a la Wales, Italy in the last match.
Yeah.
Right?
So I don't know. Personally, I just feel a lot better with the Italy attackers.
That's fair.
And that's
fair.
Yeah. I see 2 or 3 more than I see like a 1-0 win where Spin gets an assist clean or something like that. But obviously he's
fair.
still a really good pick. And so is Donnarumma. And so is, Chiellini is maybe hurt, right?
Yeah, well, he didn't play last game, and he got subbed off injured in the first half of the second game. So
really know, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, Bonucci's still an option there.
Yeah, Bonucci's there.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you on that. And then the Sunday, the second day, we have Netherlands, Czech Republic, and then Belgium, Portugal. I mean, I think that's pretty clearly a Memphis day or a Genie day, right?
100% Memphis or Genie or Dumfries.
Yeah, or Dumb as Fry.
Do not sleep on Dummy.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps trying to score every game, so that's
He has the 4th highest non-penalty XG per 90 in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take that a little bit for
Kai, Arnie, Ronaldo, Dumfries.
Yeah, dumbest. Okay, so that's an interesting one.
It's a little scenic, like what he's doing. I mean, either way, he's nailed in the team, so that's not even a question. It's one of those for Cap, for sure.
Yep. And then we got Croatia, Spain, France, Switzerland. I mean, you got to go back to probably a French player there. I think, unless if you really want to go for Moreno or something, because
it's hard.
I feel like the biggest issue with the Spain team sheet is her team to captain. We'll get the lineups, but it's not going to help us when we pick our teams.
Yeah.
Who are you going to want on their attack? Like Sarabia was really good. Like, is he going to get another game? He might. That might be a really good pick.
Yeah, Pete. That was Pete's question. He said, I'm looking for captain options on day 3. I feel like it's tough to pick the right French forward. They're all expensive. Do you like any of the cheaper Spanish attackers for captaincy with how stacked their forwards are? I'm looking at Sarabia, 6'5", Ferrani, but Moreno could also be a shout. Yeah, there's so many guys in there. And they're all liable to get subbed off early for another guy.
I mean, to me, I think that the front 3 that he's going to play is Moreno, Morata, and Sarabia.
Me too.
Again, I mean, that's just what functioned the best. Olmo's been one of the worst players of the tournament. And, Ferran, he subbed on and scored.
He's good.
He's a good player and he's a good option to have. But, it seems like they played their way into earning more game time, that front 3, because they were not only functioning, but they actually scored goals.
Yes, Sarabia is really interesting also because he's the only one of those listed as a mid out of Moreno, Morata, and him. Yeah. And a clean feels very good against Croatia. I agree with that. So that's an extra point. As they,
and I mean, they're going to have... Perisic is going to be attacking the Alba side. I mean, if you just can check him, then it's going to be hard, I think, for Spain to be scoring on because I still don't feel like Croatia have been looking good in any capacity.
Right.
But the other thing with this one is that, you could still roll dice on someone like Sarabia and then also... have the French player in case like that player doesn't start or Ferran or Moreno or whatever. It's not like... Yeah,
you get the lineup. You just don't cap them. Move your cap to the French player. Yeah, that's fair.
The only issue for us with France? That is that... before that, I just wanted to mention one thing about Spain is like because they have so many of those options across the front 3, for us when we can't really consider using a transfer on someone who gets dropped if they advance, like that's a big issue because
that's really
Sarabia,
bad for us.
Even though Sarabia was good last game and we think he's going to start, if he just doesn't play that well and they advance, for example, like he probably just won't play the next game. So it's just double risk, I think, even though it might
if
well
he
be worth
doesn't start and plays 30 minutes, we still can't afford to use a free transfer on that spot. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes it really a lot less appealing for if you don't have the chip to use. And also they're going to, 85% chance they're going to be playing France. So that's a nightmare
so that's
anyway.
Not that great anyway, But so you're asking about France. I mean, I think this is just roll the dice again. It's every single game when they play to me is just, they're all good options. You could talk yourself into anyone being better than another, but in reality, it's a complete fucking dice roll. Yeah.
It's fun. They're all grouped up on points. The real difference between the 3 players in points is that Ben's scored a pen. Yeah. And if he didn't score that, then they're all on basically the same points between Benz, Griezmann, and Mbappe. Yeah. I think Paul's been playing out of his skin good. He's an interesting pick. I wouldn't captain. I mean, you could captain like Varane or something and feel very confident in a clean, I think.
Yeah, I would be really surprised if Switzerland score.
Yeah. I mean, the upside just seems sort of low with France, but again, you never know. That Argentina game is just in the weeds somewhere, and we never know when it's going to come. It's probably not coming against Switzerland, who are ultra conservative and defensive, but maybe it comes against Spain or something.
Because the other thing also, as you're saying that, like, to also come back to your earlier point, is like, say France goes 1-0 up, and this is something we've seen a lot against a team like Switzerland, and it's 30 minutes, right? It doesn't mean that, like, okay, the 32nd minute after the kickoff, Switzerland changed the way that they're playing.
Right.
It still means that, like, they're going to be compact. They're still going to play the same game. And then all that means is that on 75, they're going to go for it.
Yes.
So, it's not like all of a sudden the game's wide open for a long time. So, I think that that's probably where this game will likely go, right? France are going to find a breakthrough in the first half, and then Switzerland are going to just keep doing nothing. And then, we'll have to see if there's a period where France gets some counters, but yeah.
And then Tuesday,
I feel like Croatia are just like much worse and like less organized or whatever. Like I feel like Spain would be able to score a few more than I think France would maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny how, Spain were obviously like the banter team of the first two match days, like just missing their pens, missing all their chances.
Well, that didn't change in the third. They missed another one.
They just then also got the goals and ended up scoring five.
They also had the good fortune of playing against Juan Martin Dubravka, who helped them out a lot.
Yeah, Spanish ultra Dubravka, Spain kid underneath,
secret agent.
Yeah, seriously. And then Tuesday, the last day, is so hard for Cap.
It's just awful.
Yeah. So England, Germany at Wembley, which barely matters probably at this point. It's like almost more toxic than it is good. And Sweden versus Ukraine, which is like, I don't know, there might be something to exploit there just by the fact that like Poland got a lot of chances.
So like that
could have scored 2 or 3.
Yeah, that was the game that like did my head in the most, I think, of the whole round.
Sweden-Poland?
Yeah, because
I thought Sweden, it was a 1-0 Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden just played like a completely different game than they've shown us in the first two matches.
Yeah.
Poland has, they targeted the center backs, which is always, when Victor Lindelof's like the better one, that's, something that you want to try and do. And that's how they got, really both of their goals. They had that other chance that Lewandowski,
the biggest sitter of the tournament that Lewandowski fucked up. Yeah.
But and then they sort of just like weren't playing very hard because they were through, I think. Like there was definitely an element of like this team is just kind of like they're not like interested or something.
Yeah.
And they weren't being like, because they were very like, I thought like tactically and like their shape was like very disciplined in the first two games. And then now that this Poland game, it was just like, what are they doing? Like
what are they doing?
Everyone's everywhere and they're just getting ripped apart by a team that by and large has not shown signs of functioning in the first two matches in Poland. And thank God they're eliminated. They're horrible. So I think that was more an aberration. Like, I think that this game's going to be really bad. I think Sweden are going to just suck, and I think Ukraine are not going to be able to break them down.
Yeah. And then the other, so that's Sweden, where it's kind of a mystery, but we're kind of confident in how they're going to play. And then the other team is Ukraine, who, going into match day 3, I was like, okay, they're a wide open team with really technical, good attackers who are just going to try and outscore you. Like, that's fine. And then they just get pressed to absolute fuckland and dominated by Austria and create nothing for the entire game. So I'm like, okay, did they just get like tactically sucker punched and didn't see it coming and were just totally thrown off and have no like leaders to, or are they just bad and the first two matches were weird? And
so I think it was definitely the first point because we saw Austria play a different system than they played the first two games, and as you know, these teams do not have a lot of time to prepare for the next game.
So as we know, very much.
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely an element where that happened, right?
Yeah,
and sure. Of course, the manager, whatever. I feel like they looked like one of the least fit teams in the tournament. Like watching Ukraine play against Austria, I felt like they were just so leggy everywhere. Like they got ran up and down that Netherlands game the first day was wild. And, they did what they needed to do in the second day, but they don't have any depth. And, it just looks to me like the players outside of Yaremchuk looked like he could have kept going for another 90, but they were just kind of like shattered. Malinowski got subbed early. So I feel like that was what I was seeing more than like they're bad. Like I don't think that. Obviously I would never say that anyway because I'm insane, but that's what I was attributing it to more.
Yeah. So it's a weird one. That obviously England, Germany, the cliche would be it's a 50-50 game. I think it's a lot more like interesting and the teams are so different than that. Yeah. But Sweden Ukraine is the more like mysterious, I have no fucking idea game to me.
And so this is where the strategy kind of the tournament game comes into play is like England Germany is a harder game to call, but it's not necessarily a harder game. Say they're both equally as hard to call, but the England Germany, the winner of that is going to be a massive favorite against either Sweden or Ukraine,
no matter what.
So like if you're going to take some shots, you want to pick players in the England Germany game and hope you get them right and that team wins, because then you're going to have a really good pick with a really good matchup in the quarters.
Right.
I mean, if you're throwing players from Sweden and Ukraine out, you're just taking a risk there. Whether or not they advance, they might not even function and just lose to nil. Either of those teams could just lose to nil.
Absolutely.
They're not even. So that's another thing just to consider when you're building your team.
Yeah, that's fucking hard, dude.
Yeah, that's where you take your shots is the important thing.
Fuck, and then I'm pretty sure the next match is not Wembley or Munich, but that would just make them even stronger favorites, but I'm pretty sure it's not. But that is very interesting on who to pick and how many to pick from England, Germany, especially in our case. So so we didn't pick any caps. We just talked about the games. So
I mean, I think like
it's ridiculous.
I mean, I think you just I don't know. I really don't have anything on this day. I don't know where to go. I mean, I feel like maybe it is that you go for a player in the shittier game, like a Yarmo, maybe.
They are a little
because you're not captaining like Raz. Like you're not spending 9.5 on Raz, and you don't want to captain that.
I was actually going to shout Raz because, well, for two main reasons. I think the worst unit. Germany probably defense. On this day is Germany's defense, and
they're better than Ukraine's defense, but
but they don't like they sell out more. They're like more vulnerable up the gut to just getting like shredded.
Yeah.
And then one of the things we pretty confidently for sure know at this point is Raz is first choice, and we know Raz is really fast. We know he's in form.
He scores all their goals.
He scores all the goals. He's great on counters. Like we know all
they're
going to be
having. Yeah.
So to me, I'm like that is the one like premium that like I feel so much better about like Raz than Kai.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think it's going to come down to like when we're actually clicking the buttons. If we're like, oh yeah, we can easily just put him in, and that's an okay thing to have at the end. Yeah. Or if it's just like, well, he's still expensive,
He's really expensive.
Still not. I mean, I don't know.
It's like, but then the thing you were saying before is then if England win, and they are favorites, Raz versus Sweden, Ukraine, like we feel really good about. We're like, great, we have another really good pick. So it's. Fuck, man, it's so hard and interesting. Yeah. And then there's like Forsberg or like, Ukraine attacker or something like that. And that's also interesting. And Forsberg's been balling, so maybe. And is on pens.
Of course he has been.
Yeah, so. All right, let's do some questions. So a Dundee Monkey, Liam, and Rory all asking, after spunking our limitless and wildcard, how should we approach second round wildcard? Spread our assets across lots of teams or gamble and load up on the favorites? So that's what we were just talking about is mostly load up on the favorites, right? And then fill in the rest.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And again, I think you want to put an extra preferential treatment to teams that you think have a better chance of getting to the quarters.
Which was
or the semis rather than the other ones. So.
But that's really, just going through it right now with you, that's really only Netherlands, sort of.
Yeah,
because
unless if you have a different read on like England versus Germany,
yeah,
and you're like, I could talk. I mean, of course, a lot of people are English, obviously, but you could definitely.
A lot of people are German too,
Yeah, well, not that listen to us, but
I know.
You're like England haven't conceded a goal all tournament. Basically, like they aren't going to attack. They're just going to park. They have all these good defenders. They're going to just defend. There's no way that they're going to be breached. They're going to win 1-0, 2-0. 2-1, and if that's how you're seeing that, then I wouldn't have an issue with you taking 4-3 England players.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think I would be more on that side than the Germany side. Like I think England are rightfully favorites, and Germany are kind of a mess. It's just hard because everyone knows that Germany have really good players. So
yeah, I mean really they're a mess, and then they score 5 against Portugal. Yeah, like that can happen. That can happen for sure. And if you think Portugal's defense and England's defense are pretty close. I mean, I guess not that close with Pepe and Semedo. I guess they're just not as good, but historically they have been. But maybe that's just a false narrative. I don't know.
No, I think honestly the bigger issue, this was a double pivot thing they were focusing on, is Portugal's DMs and their lack of range and stuff. And so when Portugal get pinned back, Carvalho, Pereira, they just back up, but they're basically just extra center back, sort of. Whereas, Declan, Calvin can cover outside
and dribble it out.
Yeah, and England's attackers track back. They work their fucking asses off. Whereas,
Ron and
Bruno, Jota. I mean, Bilva and Jota work more for the club team, I think, than Portugal, but they, it's not as much as England, so. I don't know.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. Jeff D said, obvious question, but what fixtures are the most exploitable? And for each of those fixtures, do you like lumping on attack or defense or a mix of both? So we kind of talked about that, I guess, already.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we did a little bit. We did bits of our rundown, I think, already.
Yeah. I'm actually reading through, and we've covered a bunch of these questions already. Oh, and then Tio's question was kind of another thing that we touched on, is which players and teams, if any, are you willing to take a risk on in matchups where there isn't a clear favorite? So, we've covered that we're going to go with heavy favorites, but what about Belgium, Portugal? What about England, Germany? What about Wales, Denmark? The odds makers have Denmark as massive favorites, but I don't really personally see it that way.
Is that one in Copenhagen?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that game is a lot closer.
I think that's a very,
I think it's a pretty even
game.
match.
Me too.
I mean, they both seem very similar to me.
Yeah.
In both their inability to function and their compactness or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that game's just they're gonna. It's the ball's gonna be out of bounds for a half an hour.
Yeah,
and they're just gonna nullify each other.
That's really exactly what I thought. It's such a low variance game that I feel no team can be heavy favorites. This is a 1-goal game. This is probably a 1-0. This could be a 0-0 to penalties. That would not be surprising at all.
Yeah.
And hopefully Bale doesn't take one for Wales, and then they're fine today.
Yeah. Well, if you're for Wales, right? I kind of still feel like Rom is a decent pick because he seems almost just inevitable at this point. He's watching watching all the Belgium games also is everyone just tries to feed him. It's so obvious that their plan is, do whatever the fuck any place and then find Rom. And that's all they do. And I mean, obviously Portugal's not, on paper a good fixture playing Czech Republic, but Portugal haven't exactly been tight this tournament. So, they're still playing Pepe. They're still playing shitty ass old fucks in the spine. I don't think it's a scary spine. And I feel like Belgium with Kevin back and, putting the first team, I think Belgium will win that game.
That's actually interesting, though, to continue, piggyback off of that. Who is Belgium's first 11? I feel like I don't know.
I think it would be Mertens.
Obviously Rom. I think Mertens. Obviously Kev. I think Witsel. And then
I think Kev is next to Witsel. I think it's going to be Mertens,
Rom.
Hazard, Rom up top.
You think Haz?
Yeah, I definitely think, dude, yes, I do. He's there. He was important for them.
Yeah, I mean,
he's so much better than Carrasco. It's just not close.
Yeah,
and he played like a normal has game this past.
Yeah,
and
it was almost like a tryout, and he passed.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think it's Meunier and
Torgan.
Torgan over on the wing back, and then I think that's
the center backs are also kind of like Toby and Jan for sure, and then like probably Boyata, but
I hope it's Boyata, but I don't know.
To pretend that I know what goes on in Bobby's head is a joke.
Forget it.
So the other side of that game is Portugal. Belgium also haven't been tight, and it's a Roberto Martinez team, and I don't trust them for cleans. And Portugal, and going into the tournament, we were talking about how defensive Santos is and has been at the last two tournaments, and how defensive Portugal always are. But in games where they're not keeping cleans, they've opened up a bit and they've scored some goals, and obviously a lot of them. Well,
they keep
pens.
conceding, and they concede that first goal like every game because he can plan in whatever he wants. When half of your backline is Nelson Semedo and Pepe, that's an issue. As they're just
Semedo, like Pepe is still probably fine, but
fine, but he just is less mobile, I suppose. But Semedo's, it's just they connive to concede.
So playing that happen. Defensive style just doesn't work if you go behind. And then
that's fair.
They have the difference between them this tournament and the previous two tournaments is like their firepower going forward is insane. Like they've obviously always have Ron, but the other wingers and strikers were not there the other tournaments.
No, it was like, totally. And they're not even playing João Felix in this tournament. So yeah, I mean, this game could be.
It could be like a 3-2 or some shit. Yeah,
it could be. There could be a lot of action. Definitely wouldn't be surprising to see a lot of action in this one.
I'm interested in attacking picks.
The issue, though, is that they play Italy in the next round, and
I thought they played Netherlands.
No, Netherlands play Wales, Denmark. That's why I was talking about Netherlands.
Oh, right.
No, Italy has the winner of this game, so that having more than like one player on either of these teams makes no sense. Unless if you think that they could also upset Italy. I think it's
one attacker on each team, maybe. And then, I think Italy will be, if Italy does what we and everyone expects them to do against Austria and just manhandles them, which they're massive favorites, biggest favorites of the round, they'll be favored over either Belgium or Portugal for sure.
Absolutely.
They're just such a complete team. Compared to those two. Yeah.
Absolutely.
With a huge managerial advantage over seemingly everyone in the tournament. I don't know, maybe not Enrique or something, but most teams.
That's ass sniffer.
I feel
there's a lot of good ones in here.
The Danish manager has done a very good job actually.
I
under the radar adjustments and stuff have been good.
Yeah, I mean, you lose your best player in the first game, and then they low-key didn't. They were on 0 points going into the last game.
Just how they played against Belgium though was wow. They dominated, created a ton, all that stuff.
He's getting this more than the sum of the parts sort of a thing, which is
nice.
You like to see. Yeah, you like to see that.
Yep. Damn. So and then what were the other? Oh, England, Germany, we talked about already.
And I think the France-Spain is an interesting one too, because, they both have pretty favored games in the first game.
Huge favorites.
Projecting out into next round, if they face each other, how to call that one, I have no fucking clue. It would be 50-50 flip. I have nothing.
Well, that's kind of why I know I keep bringing this up, but that's kind of why I was like, when is France-Argentina happening? And I see it more versus Spain than I see it versus Switzerland. Because the way I see France, Spain in my head is Spain.
I don't see that.
Have 75% possession, and France are cool. And you're in our final third all game, and France are cool. We're fine with that. And then they break. And it's we've seen a slight vulnerability in Spain when they're getting fast breakdown and countered on and stuff. And I'm just they haven't come up against anyone like France.
But we saw that game in the first day against Germany, right? It should be similar to that, I think. And France didn't have 8 good counters. They had a couple, and they won on a fucking own goal.
They had a lot, though. that didn't end up in shots or were just offsides.
I mean, it could have been 2-0.
And there was the pen, and
yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, and we have seen Spain give up chances to Sweden in that game.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you could. So I mean, if thinking about that is like making me like Mbappe a lot more for France than
myself
Benzema,
into it. Yeah.
Benzema or Griezmann, because we saw Griezmann playing fullback against Germany. So if that's what we're projecting the Spain game, yeah, and Benzema just can't keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So maybe Mbappe is a good option there for a forward slot.
I like it.
Okay.
All right, and then just other questions. I'll just rattle them off. There's 6, and then we can go into our team. How long are we already? 45.
We need to wrap it.
We're not gonna wrap it. You don't want to do these questions,
dude. But make sure that they're good.
You have to get out of here soon, or what?
No, I don't. I'm good.
Okay.
I have like 20. I actually have like 25 minutes.
Oof, that's tough. Balsky, do you want 2 goalkeepers on different sides of the draw now? What he's thinking is so you could keep him the whole tournament. He's looking at Simon and Scad, the Spanish and Dutch keeper. Scad.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Next question.
Who are your favorite punts if you do have a chip left over is Inglesu's question. So he's just picking around a 16 team and then moving on. Who are the guys that we wouldn't pick that he would feel better about picking? I guess maybe is one way to think about it. Like Spain is somewhere where I'm like, yeah, you probably want like triple Spain or something. Just like,
yeah, I mean, Alba,
Sarabia, Moreno or some shit.
Seems good. Something like that. Like, some fun flair Spain players seems like a thing.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, Damsgaard is obviously a fucking legend.
I love that kid. I fucking love that kid.
That's a good shout.
I kind of like a Bale shout too, right? Like we're saying that's sort of an even shitty game. Like, you pick the superstar. He's the best player on either team. Like he's,
I mean, what happened in the Turkey Wells game? Like Bale just ran it.
That's what I'm saying. If he has time on the ball and Rambo can get behind or something, maybe he pops off. Yeah.
No, I like that. I like that. That's about it, though. Honestly,
yeah. There's not that many guys that favorites. Like, we wouldn't consider that. I like someone with a chip would, and maybe it's like a Forsberg also or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Barrack,
Isak.
Yeah, Isak. I like that.
Actually, that might be good for our team. Honestly,
good. Yeah, Isak. And Kulusevski, when he subbed on, was actually electric.
Yeah, he was lively. So I guess he's just the COVID's behind him.
Yeah, I guess so. Barrack, how, if at all, are you thinking about hedging for upsets in the knockouts? Does it make sense to have just 1 or 2 players from teams facing each other, given the unpredictability of a one-off game and the allure of a wild card to clean up the mess the next round?
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you pick... We have 3 transfers, right? So say if you have 6 players from 3 50-50 matches, 1 of each on each side, right there is your 3 transfers. Yeah. So, you have to hit on all the other favorites, which is definitely doable. Like you could definitely go heavy Netherlands, heavy France, heavy Spain, and do it like that so that you're okay. The issue is if one of the favorites gets knocked off and you lose,
gets upset and you lose,
and you
4.
have 2 or 3 players on them, then you're in trouble. So
you can't really hedge for that. I don't think
there's I just don't think there is an actual thing of hedging. I don't think that exists in this. Yeah. It's just more, where are you putting your risk? It's not like, oh, well, if I do this, then I'll be safe. Like, there's no such thing.
Yeah. Joe Chen was asking about picking some cheap players that eventually you can leave on the bench to afford better starting 11 in the later rounds. I think that's definitely a good idea. I mean, he brought up Miley, Damsgaard, or is it just a waste, he said. I think more in the knockout stage than in the group stage, you do want, not fodder. You want starters, but you can... more reason cheaper picks, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree, because we're going to come down to the semifinals and the final where your bench
doesn't matter,
could be 3 non-players, and that it doesn't matter, right? Exactly, unless if you have your actual wild card that you're using on the last day or something.
So that's the only change.
Yeah, I mean, we also have a much bigger budget right now. So I think, you'll have to tinker and see like if you really do like more premiums, but there are still plenty of non-premium players who are really good picks. Like Insigne is not like that expensive. Yeah. I mean, Pau is cheap, he's on Spain. Like the defenders aren't that expensive.
He's not nailed though.
Well, yeah, that's, I think he was just dropped because he was on the card. Like, Moreno's pretty inexpensive. Yeah. I mean, there are midfield, like Damsgaard's cheap, and Molly's a good pick, I think. So Berardi's not expensive. Yeah, there's plenty. His goalkeeper's really cheap. You got Simon and Stecklenburg right there is like both 5 million under, so that's like cheap. That you can go a long way. So I think the prices to me isn't like that important. I think you just want to pick the points.
Yeah, fair. You, John, shall we be expecting a lot of 1-0 squeaky bum ties and then load up on premium defenders with captain potential? I think that's very possible.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think back to what you were talking about more towards the beginning of teams don't usually get shut out here unless if it's like a completely outclassed, outmatching.
Yeah, that's in my head. I haven't backed that with past tournaments, but that's what I think will happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't fucking know, dude.
And then last one was Billetico on Kai. He said, during the game, I said, if Germany make it through, Kai's auto in. Alon said, not if they're playing England next. I can see the point, but tell me why. Given you can rotate bench and captains, isn't someone like Kai the kind of risk you should take? Involved in attack, not crazy expensive. Or was Alon commenting on how strongly he feels about the England squad? So I guess I'm supposed to answer this, but yeah, I just think
so.
England. I mean, Kai's great, and he puts up premium type of underlying numbers, and he's in premium type of positions at not a premium price. So yeah, love that. I just think that England are so conservative and so defensive that I find it difficult to imagine a world where a team scores like 2+ against them. And Kai's not on pens or anything, so he just has a very small, and he gets subbed off at 70 every game also for some reason. So I just think there's a very small window and small upside for a guy who still costs 9. It's not like he costs 11, but 9 is still there are other 9s I'd rather have, and that's really all it was.
Fair. I agree with all that.
And England are favorites. Don't forget about that. I know
he did say it's a risk, he did mention right there.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to our team.
Okay, good.
Come on, dude, we got this. Oh,
how are we gonna fuck ourselves this time?
Well, clearly we're not gonna finish our team on the pod because that's not a thing that we do. But we can talk about some stuff or as much stuff as we want to, and then we'll finish the team tomorrow. What time's the game on Saturday? It's at noon my time. So we'll probably have a done team tomorrow night, and then Saturday maybe make a last second change or some shit.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
So how do you want to do this?
Well, let's just start with forwards, I guess. I mean, I think Memphis is the most non needing to talk about player.
So nailed.
And then who are the other forwards? I mean, I definitely could be into Mbappe.
I kind of talked myself into Mbappe. Okay. I mean, that I love him, but it's having him for 2 good
He owes
fixtures.
Us personally. He personally owes us.
He does.
I expect him to come good on that.
Yeah. So I like Mbappe. I do.
Okay.
And then is there a third standout forward that you're thinking about? I mean, I love Chiro.
I don't want to spend that money on him.
You think he's just not worth 10 straight up? I mean, we have a lot in the bank in the team that you just put together really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like there's enough spunk in there for me.
I'm surprised.
He is a little bit peripheral, honestly. I feel like he only poaches or something. I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit invisible when I watch. He's returned both the games, but he got it out of the box worldly in the second game. But
he's leading the team in shots. He has 10 shots in 2 games.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been a little bit unimpressed with him, honestly. I can't really articulate it or put a good argument on it or why. I guess maybe I also just want to. I love it watching Insigne so much, and I want to just keep going with him. So maybe that's part of it, which isn't logical.
Yeah, I think it's the sort of thing where he's just not like flashy in any sort of way, and he just gets shots. Like he's just really good at being in the box and getting shots and getting chances. Like he leads the team in shots, he leads the team in XG. He's the guy. He's the goal scorer.
Yeah.
So
like you prefer him to someone like Rom? Because I guess the other thing too is that there are so many other good Italy options, and they're all really inexpensive generally, except for him.
But
he's the only one that you're paying for it.
We're probably tripling Italy, right? Or more?
I think probably 4.
Yeah. Well, who do they have next round? Sorry, I don't have this open.
That's Belgium or Portugal.
So it's going to be tough next round, but they'll still be favored is what we kind of established.
Well, I think we're also going to...
arguably best, like according to bookies, best fixture this round too is another thing.
I think it's also one of those where I expect them to advance to the semis, but if they don't, we get 5 transfers.
Right.
So
so I feel like I like 4, and I like Insigne, obviously. I like Chiro a lot, and then it's very easy to get 2 cheaper guys who still contribute. Like whether it's Spin I think is also nailed in our team, but
I would definitely want to have him.
Whether it's like Banucci or Donna, or you have Berardi in this tinker, something like that, or I think those are all really good picks also. But I am surprised you don't like Chiro though. I think he's a great pick.
I like him. He's fine, I think. But I don't know. I don't know. He's not.
Like I see him versus Austria, and I'm like, Brady's potential, like straight up.
Yeah. Okay. We need to spend more time talking about that, because I feel like there are a lot of forwards in the game, and I like preferring Insigne, maybe a midfielder, maybe Barella, defender more, I think. But okay, let's go.
Who's the second defender you'd get? I guess it'd have to be Banucci.
Probably Banucci. I mean, unless if we wanted to get Donnarumma. I mean, he's 5'6". He's a little more expensive. We can afford it, but they don't really face shots, and I don't know. I feel like Simon is just like cheaper and better value, even though they are going to have France. I don't know. I mean, they could clean France.
Yeah, they could absolutely.
It's possible.
France. Yeah. Okay, so mids. I saw you.
But look, before we go though, so I mean, who are the other? Say if we're going to go with Mbappe and Memphis, like, because I put Rom in because I was just like, Rom. But I mean, is there anyone else besides Immobile or Moreno too? Is like 6'6". Like that's kind of part of it.
Isaac's a punt. I'm just scanning through the teams. Yeah, obviously Rom. I mean, we shouldn't discount Ronaldo, who has 5 fucking goals, even though
we're not going to have him. But
I'm just talking
serious.
Forwards. Yeah. Like, it's stupid to. Ronaldo playing a Roberto Martinez team is like a once in a millennium type of, bat signals should be up. Like, that could be a Hattie. Easy, it could be a Hattie.
I mean, we're not going to get him, but I agree with you.
We might when it comes down to it. But then, Chiro to me is definitely the standout. Unless we wanted to do something really cheeky and go like Wout Weghorst or something, which I don't think is dumb. I honestly don't think is dumb, since we're probably quadding up on Netherlands anyway. He's cheap and he's been very good. Like comparing him to a Moreno, I think is interesting, right? Because Moreno is, against Croatia, great. Probably going to start. We expect him to start. And then he has France, hopefully starts nightmare fixture versus like a Woot, which would be nailed to start.
Is he nailed? Because Malin is really good. I don't know.
Yeah, Malin's good, but like he's a sub, I think, for sure.
Okay.
Just talking. That's like an interesting thing.
I think because the other Netherlands players I put in were Dumfries, Genie, and Stecklenburg.
Yeah, I mean Memphis, Dumfries, really and Genie are, I think, 1,000% nailed.
And Steck is 4.7.
Yeah, it's really cheap. It is good.
Like, that's hard for me to not do.
I mean, the counter to Steck would be like, do you expect them to keep cleans? And that's what I'm not sure about.
I don't know if it's that. I'm not that sure. I mean, I feel like Czech Republic's a pretty good shout, and then I feel like Wales, Denmark's a pretty good shout. But who are you getting instead? Like, we're not going to get an England-Germany keeper because we don't know if they're going to win.
No.
And we're not going to get an Sweden-Ukraine keeper because we don't know who's going to win there. Like, so who else are we getting? Like the Denmark goalkeeper? they might not win. So I feel like that's like almost like essential to get Stecklenburg.
You're eliminating day by day. It'd be Donna.
Well, no, but I'm saying for the second spot. Yeah, say Donna or Simon, they're on that side of the bracket.
I think Simon is like a really good one that I want.
So then we can't have Donnarumma because they play on the same day in the second round. That's what I'm talking about.
I see. Yeah. I see. I really need I should really get this bracket open, but I'm just gonna not open it. It's too deep. We're too deep into the pod for me to now be like,
fine. So that's why I think Stecklenburg is like the most.
So everyone's gonna be on Donna's deck or Simon's deck, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, they should be. Maybe Lloris. Some people will probably have Lloris.
Yeah, which I think is reasonable.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. They're still heavy favorites to win the tournament, I think, and they probably should be.
Yeah.
Are we going to really go through every position and like talk about every player in the game?
I mean,
it's up to you. I'm down.
We could do 10 more minutes.
Okay,
I'm okay.
Let's do 10 more minutes.
So midfield.
Yeah, midfield. I see you have Insigne in there, which I think is great. Genie, who I think is nailed.
I think the other three are up in the air.
Yeah, the other three are up in the air. I'm not sure how I feel about Yarmo.
I don't think we should go with Yarmo. I do like Damsgaard, though. I think at his price is like it's unmatched, like for the
attacking intent.
Yeah.
And they're heavy favorites, should be said. Bookies generally know more than us. I mean, most people know more than us at this point.
Fuck, man.
I think like the Bale punt is a punt.
I actually am like liking it more. He's really expensive though.
Yeah,
because the thing about that is that I kind of like, similarly to having like Damsgaard, is, I mean, having an attacker against Netherlands in the second round here isn't going to be like terrible.
That's not terrible. I'm also interested in Raz. I mean, I made my case for a Raz, like for a captain this final day, and for very good pick if they advance in the next round.
I don't know I don't think I'm going to be able to sign off on that with his price, honestly.
Well, if we have to trim too much fat from the team, then obviously it's bad. But
yeah, we could think about it, because we could do Insigne. Because we could do like, we would have to chop down to a cheap forward, but we could do like Insigne, Damsgaard, Genie, Bale, like Sarabia.
Yeah.
Something
if
like
we
that.
if we had a cheap forward, that's possible for sure.
Okay. What about, I feel like we should get Paul though.
I do love him. It's just like,
it's like so stupid to play this dumb fucking game that doesn't matter and not have Paul though.
His upside is like 5 or 6 points. It's just so brutal. His upside is clean assist.
Nah, he can always Paul Fuckland one.
I mean, he had a really disgustingly sick goal. He ripped it, but if that's what we're banking on, then we should have fucking Schick, Modric. Like, we're not banking on like the 1 in a million worldies. He doesn't score for France. Like, he doesn't do shit for France in fantasy. He's their best player, but
oh god,
no, he's not their best player. But whatever.
All right, fine.
No, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not open to it. It's just tough.
All right. I have an uphill battle there. I'll have to regroup without you.
Clearly, we're gonna have a very long Discord conversation starting tonight that Patreon subscribers will see behind the scenes. How fucking dumb we are.
I think we have a lot more uncertainties in this.
Oh yeah.
As weirdly as it is that there's half the fucking teams are gone, but like the last round, it picked itself. Yeah, now it's so much harder.
And Forsberg, we talked about, like, there's guys like that are like, that could be really good.
I think Forsberg, I think we have to make our bed. I think we need to allow him to continue to hurt us.
If we love him, set him free.
Yeah. He's the same with Perisic.
Yeah, Perry's long.
They're in the same camp. They can keep hurting us. We didn't go to them when we should have.
And then it's like, if we're getting Raz, why don't we just get Jack? $2 million cheaper, better player.
Why don't we just get Jack?
So our team's just gonna end up like Jack, Paul, etc. Okay, yeah, everything's gonna work out great.
What about like a Jota?
Yeah,
just not as good or not as much upside with Italy's second game.
I voiced my feelings on that Portugal-Belgium game though, and like I think there's real potential for an attacker on either side of that game to like fucking explode.
Yeah, I mean, where that could look is, we could easily just put one from each team and just resign ourselves. Like one of these players is going to be our transfer next game week, automatic.
Yeah.
The thing that
it's like Kev, Jota, Ron.
Yeah, just two, right? But the only thing is that just playing Italy just feels awful to me the next game.
Yeah, it is. And I think one of the things that's like limiting us in this moment is that Italy just played Wales with their B team in a game that didn't matter, so it doesn't even count. Turkey and Switzerland.
Yeah, they haven't had a game.
And we're like, they're impenetrable. It's the worst fixture possible, but they haven't been tested at all.
We also don't know that. You're right. Yeah, that's a fair point.
So it's like on paper, I'm like, oh, Rom versus Italy, like it's bad, but like Belgium could win 3-1, and then we're like, oh, whoops,
Yeah.
Like Belgium were favorites.
I mean, Belgium also just like aggregate like 7-1 their group. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Portugal had one freak game, but otherwise they drew France and destroyed Hungary.
Portugal, dude.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's...
Oh, my God.
Italy, Portugal seems very clear right now where, like, Italy's going to fuck them, but, like, Portugal are good. Can't forget that they're good.
Fuck Portugal. What about defenders?
By the way, love Portugal. Vacation, incredible country.
Love as a country, yeah. I don't care about that.
So good. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, I've been there. It's fine. Fucking fish or whatever. But
I loved it. Oh my God.
Yeah. But the team and the players, fuck them all.
Miley seems like a great pick. The Danish Spinazzola.
Him, Dumfries, Spinazzola. I think those three are probably pretty sure in there for us. So too. And then the last two, I have no idea. You could fucking put anyone. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, people in the mix are like Varane, Bonucci, Pau. I'm sure we named a lot of other guys in there.
I want to make one comment that I was thinking about with Netherlands. Actually,
yeah.
It's sort of intriguing to me. Thinking about PVA and Blind, because he kind of plays them like exactly 65 minutes.
He subs them for the clean.
Yeah. And that's not nothing, It's good. I mean, maybe, because I could imagine, I'm not like completely married to having Genie. Like I could see, maybe there's a little bit more value there. You like Genie enough that you want to make sure we have him then.
Netherlands, he's been so good. Yeah, he's arguably really been player of the tournament.
The only issue I have with him, honestly, is that we owned him for match day 2 and didn't own him for match day 1 and 3, and we got 3 points and he scored 20 in the other 2. So I feel like
classic us.
He's gonna personally attack us again.
Is he?
That's what I'm honestly. That's what I'm telling you is that. Whenever we've done this sort of thing where it's like he's the obvious, easy, nailed pick himself, it's been really bad.
Not always.
And I'm getting that vibe from him.
Not always. We did get Dumfries. We get like 14. Okay. Like we didn't miss.
But that's like with the Ghost. But this is what like the Gosens pick where
but that was good. We dodged. No, I know,
but that's because we spent time to be like, wait a minute. I don't know. Okay,
I'm just saying there are. Also, examples of obvious guys that worked out.
I got you, Doug.
Yarmo's 10-pointer, Dumfries 14-pointer. Okay. Even like Miley 8-pointer this week and shit like that. Right. So Kai scored.
Alba's good if we could afford him. I feel like.
Yeah, he's great. He's so good.
He's been getting in there in the final third.
He's so good. So that's interesting. This is gonna take way too long for us to podcast about it. And then keepers we basically already talked about.
Yeah.
We just need, you want 2 keepers from the opposite sides of the tournament who you think are going to advance deep.
The end.
That's it.
Yeah.
Unless you're, wild carding next round, you can modify that, but.
Yeah. All right.
That's it. I mean, I think that's basically a podcast. Give or take. We got 2 new signups. People are still signing up, so thanks everyone for that, for our Patreon signups. We got Blend Zen and Charlotte Salmons. Thank you for the signups. Slap your ass. Any last words?
I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, brother. Check us out at fmlfield.com. Follow us on Twitter at fmlfield, support us, patreon.com/fmlfield. Subscribe, rate, review, and cheer.